Welcome. My name's Jayadeva. I'm director of the Princeton Yoga Community Center, and we're here presenting a series on meditation. We'll be covering a lot of things going through the series, and occasionally I'll be repeating things in future shows for people who may have missed some of the shows. But we'll be covering new things every time, and it would be useful if you're interested in meditation to watch them all. Today, we're going to cover a little bit, as we have, what the series is about. And then we'll talk about meditation itself. What is meditation? And I'd like you to notice that there's a difference between a meditation practice and practicing meditation. I'll explain in a moment. So some of the things that we'll be doing over the series is explaining and teaching a lot of different meditation techniques. Also helping you see how to set up a personal, very rich and rewarding meditation practice that you can do on your own daily from home. And what some of the many benefits that meditation brings for us. We'll also go over some of the challenges that we run into as we pursue a meditation practice and how to address those challenges. So now, let's consider what is meditation. The yogis pretty much view meditation as two things. One is a practice that we do to get into the meditative state. And the second thing is just that, being in that meditative state, meditating. So meditation is both of those things. Often when people are talking, they're saying, I meditate, they're talking about their formal practice or their practices that they use to move their consciousness into such a state. But ideally, the formal practices that we use will make it so that we become more familiar with the meditative state, that our mind and our consciousness begins to get used to that and settled into that, so that we're meditating no matter what we're doing. Often people think that meditation looks like this. And often when people are practicing meditation, they do look like that. But that's not what meditation looks like. Meditation looks like whatever you're doing. It's just a state of consciousness that you're functioning in. But you're functioning in it. You can be doing sports, you can be doing your business, you can be cooking and meditating while you're doing it. A term that's often used is mindfulness, and that's a beautiful term, referring to being conscious and aware as you're doing whatever you're doing. But interestingly, mindfulness is a technique to move you into that meditative state. It's not meditation itself. The meditative state can't really be defined and described for you. needs to be experienced. And even that is somewhat challenging because your experience of meditation will change. That's the nature of these minds that we have. We experience things in a variety of ways. But when you're in a meditative state, everything flows beautifully. You're in yoga, the union, and there's not a separation. Things are going okay. Even problems are okay. Challenges are okay. It's the way things are, and that's fine. Santosha. Patanjali refers to contentment. So I said the yogis, when they're looking at meditation, the way that they approach it is to get the mind one-pointed. One-pointed. Normally our mind runs all over the place. It's called the monkey mind. It goes to this and then jumps to that and then changes to this and then moves over there and goes here. And we sit and we're trying to be still and our body's still, but our mind's running with thoughts about what's going on, what happened, what do people think of me, what do I think of them. There's all this activity in the mind. That's natural. That's natural. But when we get the mind focused on something and choose one thing to focus it upon, it gets one-pointed and it gets very powerful and strong, and there's a stillness that comes about. And this is the meditative state. As I said though, that stillness is something that's a way of being that's there even when the mind is busy and active and the body's busy and active. You can still be established in that transcendental plane of the witness, the stillness, which is here for all of us all the time, but most of us aren't aware of it. And when we become aware of it, it's beautiful. It's very sweet. There's a peacefulness, a joy, love. Our innate happiness shines for us. It's really great. So as I mentioned earlier, there's this action of meditating, a formal meditation practice. And a lot of what we'll talk about will be teaching how you can do that. And there's a lot of different elements to it and a lot of different techniques you can use. And eventually, and this is important, you want to choose one thing as the technique you're using. When I say one thing, one technique, the technique you choose might be a combination of the variety of techniques that we're going to go over, and you may combine a few of them to create your own personal technique that works for you and engages you and helps you get your mind focused. That's fine. That's exactly how it should be. But when the mind gets focused, this human mind we have, this busy monkey mind, our mind has this beautiful, beautiful capacity to reflect what's real, what's true, what's beyond time and space, our true self, that self of all. The mind does not have the capacity to rationally speak about it, think about it. Even the thoughts fall short of being able to hold the fullness of what our true self is. But our minds have the capacity to know it, to recognize it, to be aware of it. And when the mind becomes one-pointed, it takes on that ability and we see our true self. It's really awesome. So meditation is to get the mind one-pointed, using whatever technique happens to fit for you. And initially, if you're new to meditating, you'll probably try a whole bunch of different techniques to explore them until you find something that works for you. And you may find something that works for you, but still be interested in looking at other things and say, maybe that's better, maybe that's better. And it's okay to shift initially and try a few things and try something for a while and then shift to something else. That's normal. But you eventually want to pick something and stick with it. And here's why. Our mind, as we already mentioned, has this busyness. It's its nature to shift around and move around. It's the nature of the mind. But if you choose one thing and repeat it, it creates a groove in the mental plane. And if you stay with the same thing again and again and again and again, that groove starts to get deeper and thicker. And the mind becomes one-pointed much more easily and much more rapidly because you've stepped into the groove that you've created. So you want to pick something and stick with it so that you can create that groove in your mental field, and it will move you into meditation so much more readily and so much easier, and then hold you there so that you really can go about your activities, your day, in a meditative state. So you're going to try a lot of different techniques. That makes sense, it's normal, but then you want to choose something and settle with what you choose. Stay with it so that the mind will create a groove. And that groove, as you stay with the same practice again and again every day, it'll get deeper and deeper. And you'll find it'll be so much easier to slip into the meditative state. And as you do that more regularly, that meditative state becomes established in your being. And then you walk around and you live in a meditative state, whatever you're doing. And again, it doesn't mean you walk around and you talk slowly and no, you can be completely active and full and busy and doing whatever you like, but you'll keep your peace. You'll stay steady in your peace. You'll be joyful and happy. It's really a delight. Meditation serves in so many beautiful ways for us. Now, another thing about the mind that you want to be aware of is that if you practice regularly, and by regularly I do mean every single day, if you practice every day, it becomes a habit, and the body knows it, it expects it, it accepts it, and it makes it so much easier. And again, the mental pattern will become established, and you just meditate. That's just how I am. It's what I do. You will find that the benefits of your meditation will be so rich for you that you want to meditate. You understand how wonderful and how useful it is for you, but you also need to create a discipline so that you do it steadily. And there's lots of tools you can use. We'll talk about those more in the future, in other shows. One thing I'd like to ask you to do if you're going to take on a meditation practice is to make a commitment to meditate every single day. Now, if you make a commitment to meditate every single day, I encourage you to make it easy for yourself and commit to meditating at least once a day, and ideally twice a day, for at least 1 minute. I'm not suggesting you only meditate for 1 minute, but you make a commitment to meditate for 1 minute. For instance, let's say you've decided you're going to meditate sometime before you leave the house in the morning. I'm going to meditate before I go out today. And let's say every day you're going out for work. And you get up one day, you overslept, it's late, and you realize, I'm going to be late to work. I've got to rush. And you've got that understanding, you're thinking like that. However, you can still take 1 minute. Just settle, take a few breaths, and focus on whatever you've chosen as your technique. And just do it for 1 minute. Even in that situation, when you then go, you'll find you'll go much more easily. You won't be anxious or upset. You'll travel more safely. You'll be clearer. You'll probably even get there more quickly. Take that 1 minute. Do your meditation. I'm not suggesting that you only meditate for 1 minute, but in those circumstances, 1 minute will serve you beautifully. It'll really make your day. Of course, in general, if you get comfortable, you want to hang out and meditate, because it takes some time usually for our mind to let go of its busyness and settle into the stillness and focus. And we'll go over several techniques on how to go about that and accomplish that and train the mind. So, chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita is the yoga of meditation. And Krishna tells Arjuna that it's really important to meditate every day, because you need to control this wild and active mind. And when you do, you'll come into that stillness where you can know the absolute, know the truth, and be the fullness of yourself. And he gives some techniques in chapter 6 as well. But then Arjuna hears this and says to Krishna, but Krishna, wait, that sounds impossible. The mind is like a roaring wind that's just impossible to control. And Krishna doesn't say, oh, no, you're wrong. He says, you're right, Arjuna. The mind is very busy. But if you're steady in your practice, it will come under your control, and it will quiet down, and you will be successful and accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. And you'll gain the state of meditation, and you'll know me. So you want to be steady in your practice. Sometimes when you meditate, it'll be easy. We're going to talk about this next time too. Sometimes you'll sit down to meditate and your mind just won't cooperate. It's not going to focus on what you want to focus on. These are the gunas, and we'll talk about the gunas a little bit, the qualities of nature. And whether or not the mind is doing what you want to do and focusing easily, and you're settling into a calmness while you meditate, or it's very busy or dull and you're having quite a challenge to focus on what you've chosen to focus upon, still do it. Regardless of how it feels that time, you'll be shocked by just making the effort, how your day transforms from that. So meditation is wonderful. It'll blossom forth, and it will help you blossom into self-realization, into peace, into a lovingness that can radiate all the time throughout your being, whatever you're regarding. It's really lovely. You want to meditate daily. So I hope you'll come, tune in to the shows as we go through this, and start a meditation practice. After the next 2 shows, you'll have some good techniques you can explore, play with, try out. But this has been our introduction now. Blessings. Oh.